successful receiver in New England history and the greatest quarterback of all time. Julian Edelman and Tom Brady, sing the building. Actually, last night, I was in a good friend of mine was there for the top financial trade, one of the top 10 in the world, and I was sitting beside him. He saw that we're speaking here tomorrow, and he said, I used to hate him. I hated him more than anything. Tom hated him. He goes, and then when they were losing so bad, and then I felt bad. If I let him get one more touchdown, he said that comeback was the greatest thing he's seen in the history of his life, and he's now the biggest fan of this program. Oh my God! So why don't we start with guys? I know you guys just came from practice, from the helicopter over here, so let's give him a hand for making the time for us. But, you know, both of you have something in common. Yes, they are good. It's very small time. Both of you become some of the greatest of all time, and you both started out as underdogs. I mean, I know you were in junior college there at San Mateo, and you know, you weren't recruited super heavily, as I understand. You picked, you know, the 7th in the draft. You spent 2 years in college, you know, sitting on the bench, right? Yeah. And then turning around, figuring out what to do in your psychology in your head, coming back, you were picked 199th in the 6th round, and you're both the best in the world, and might argue right some of the best in history. That's my minor question. How the hell do you go from the underdog to the best on earth? What would attract you from those days when you're sitting on the bench to really being who you are today? That's a big question. But what was some of the key elements? I want to ask you the same if I can. Well, let's start with you, Tony.
Sure. Well, that's a long story.
Yeah, well, I'll take it.
But I think that, you know, in so many ways, so many of the experiences I had in my life prepared me for being an underdog. You know, I grew up in a family of 3 sisters, all of whom were better athletes than me. All the attention was given to them in sports growing up, actually. And I did actually, you know, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was a big fan of the 49ers, and ended up, you know, loving them and loving, you know, 2 of my great idols at the time were 2 great quarterbacks. So it's just a great time growing up in the Bay Area and watching these spectacular teams with these great leaders. But I didn't even start playing football until my freshman year in high school. I didn't even know how to put the pads in my pants. When I showed up to practice on the first day, and all these other kids had played Pop Warner and they kind of knew what to do, and it was intimidating, but I loved the sport and I wanted to learn and I wanted to get better, and I fell in love with the sport, enough so that I got picked to go to Michigan. I chose this great school in the Midwest, which was a long ways from home, but that competition in high school and kind of being an underdog in high school taught me that I'd be the underdog professional or in college. When I showed up to the college campus my first year, I was the 7th quarterback on the depth chart. So I was looking up at a lot of people. And in quarterback's different than receiver, only one guy plays. And I really fought hard over the course of that time to develop my skills and watch actually other guys do it the right way and sometimes the wrong way. But I used it as an opportunity, even being behind people, to understand what competition was all about and the things that I needed to do to gain the trust and respect of the people that I worked with, to ultimately gain their respect, and they elected me captain in my last year at the school, which was really cool And we actually had a pretty good year, and I thought, man, I might be picked at a decent point in the NFL draft. And I had to wait a long time for my name to be picked again, which was a great thing for me, because there weren't that many expectations for me being picked, 199th pick. There was already a great quarterback that we had on our team, so the entire first year, I just got to sit back and I got to watch. I got to watch someone else do it. And I watched and I learned and I worked, and the moments I didn't have to play, I used those as a way to use those practices as my games, and use the weight room and use the conditioning to gain the trust in my teammates again. So the experience that I had in high school, the experience that I had in college prepared me for when my opportunity came. And most people's opportunity in sports may come when they're 18. Well, mine didn't come when I was 18. I had to really work hard over the course of those years to prepare myself that when I was 23, 24, I got my opportunity. And I like to say that I was a late bloomer, and now I'm still, on the vine, and still trying to find ways to grow. And I think part of, being here, and I know that you guys are all here, searching for different things in your life you can learn, that can inspire you, help become the best version of yourself. And I'm very much that same way. I'm very open to trying new things, and sometimes in our job you have to get better in order to get worse. So much of what I've done and tried to transform myself into an athlete was doing things that were really uncomfortable for me. And I was going up against some of the best athletes, some of the guys that I was always the slowest guy on the team. If we ran, I was last, and I still am today, but I run a lot faster than they did than I did when I was 18 years old. So I think so much is this continuing to understand what your strengths and weaknesses and build on those things. And most importantly for me, when you're a member of a team, to gain the trust and the love and the respect of your teammates. And this is one of the guys that I love the most, and I've been lucky to play with for as long as I have. We still get a chance to do it, this year too, so we're excited about that.
That's right. Tony was a quarterback, and you probably know, and you saw the bench was 3 or 4 years, and then you train yourself to become a wide receiver, and now, you have third greatest receptions in the history of the NFL. I mean, Rice is the only person that you use the next one for you to knock off. How the hell did you do that and not lose your truth, not lose your belief, not lose your certainty when you're sitting around so much? I'm hearing you turned around and you said, I'm going to use this time, not be used by it. I'm not going to sit here and be frustrated, I'm going to learn. What did you do that took you from that place of really being the underdog to being the dominant player in the league?
Well, it all started with me. I had a mentor, and I was fortunate enough to have a father that was in my life. And I would wake up every morning, my father would be gone, working from 5 to 5, come home, and we would practice. And we would practice 7 days a week. We would take the bat and balls on vacation. We'd have my sister shagging the balls, my brother on first base while I'm taking in the field. So he instilled in me at a very young age, if you want to be good at something, you got to go out and earn it. You got to practice, because practice execution becomes game reality. And
you talked about that earlier.
For a guy like me, because I've done that for so long, I have that in the back of my mind. I have like my father, where if I don't practice, I'm not confident. And if I don't work on my craft, I'm not confident. So I overdo it sometimes, but I have to do that for my psyche to be on the right page. And, I was a quarterback in college for 3 years. I went to JUCO. I was a late bloomer. I was like 4'11" my freshman year of high school.
Wow.
But I played football since I was 8, so I knew how to put pads in my pants. And I would do that.
It is.
And being a Pop Warner guy, I was able to compete because I knew the game of football better than the kids that were bigger, and more athletic. But I was able to have vision. I could, use my experience just from playing the game to my advantage. And so, going back to that, I ended up playing quarterback in high school. Went to junior college. I didn't get recruited out of high school. So that naturally made my chip on my shoulder, a lot bigger. I remember, I led my team to 13-0, and they always bring in the studs in the coach's office, and they'd have the Division I schools there, and the Division IIs, and the 1AAs, and even JUCOs. And every time they went there, I never got papers. I would be in the room, but they never gave me a paper. And I would get so mad, like, foolish pride mad. I would sit there, I'm like, what's the deal here? So that naturally also made my chip a little bigger.
Did you convert that into energy to perform or to grow? Or?
So all I knew was just to work hard. So I would use that as fuel when I would go and train. And when I would go and find out what I had to do to improve myself, work hard at what I had to do, and just consistently do it. Because that's when I saw results. It was when I consistently worked hard at something. So then I ended up having good individual stats. The team was terrible that I was at my university, but I was fortunate enough to get drafted as an athlete because I was a dual threat guy. And when Bill called me on draft day, he calls and says, I don't know what you're gonna play, but you can play football, so I'll see you tomorrow at rookie camp. And I'm like, all right, cool, coach, yeah,
That worked out pretty well.
And then for my first 4 years, I look at my receiver room, we got Randy Moss, we got Wes Welker, we traded for Joey Galloway, or for Greg Lewis. We signed Joey Galloway. We had a special teams guru by the name of Sam Akins, who was a stud. So you sit there and you're like, you get drafted, all your friends think you made it, this, that. I was in the last round, and then you sit back and you're like a cornered animal. You got to work your way to even prove yourself that you can play on the team. So what I had to do was I had to make myself as versatile as I possibly could, because I wasn't great at one thing. I was good at a lot of little things because I wasn't experienced at the position. And I got to sit back like Tom did and sit and watch masters of the craft, Wes Welker, Randy Moss. And I'd take all these little things that they would do, even though they were different body types and everything, you can add it to your tool belt. So I would sit, and even if I wasn't in for practice, because you get limited reps with the vets out there, I would sit and I would watch Wes, and I'd watch Randy, and I would play it over and over in my head. And I would sit and watch film of Dion Branch, and I'd watch film of Dante Stallworth, and all these guys that were really well in our system that had a repertoire with Tom. And so after my first year, Walt got banged up a little bit. I had some time. I was still very raw. I heard that Tom and the receivers would go out to Los Angeles and train. So I just so happened to be represented by the same agent as Tom over at Doing Sports, give him a little shout out. But so I was like, Don, Steve, give me a place in LA. He's like, have you ever been to LA? No. Give me a place in LA. I want to go to LA, and if he ever needs someone to throw to, tell him to call me. Because at the time, I wasn't talking to the guy. I was like a young dude. Like, you sit there and you just kind of watch. Like, there's Tom Brady, there's Randy Moss. Like, I wonder what they're doing on the weekend. I'm gonna go to vaccines, like stuff like that. And so that year, he called me once. And I was at a barbecue. I left everything. I went and I ran over and I threw routes with him like one time that year. And so we ended up I didn't have a great season, like statistically. You get washed around because you do things. Then I go out the second year, we threw a couple more times. The third year we threw more. And then by year 4 we're throwing 3 days a week, having lunch at his house. So I'm like, sweet, when I did that, it was like, if I want to play, there's one quarterback, there's 4 receivers. What do I got to do? I got to have this guy, learn my body mechanics. I got to know what he likes, because I was a quarterback. I knew I had my favorite receivers because I knew that on an in-cut, he would run flat the downhill and wouldn't get undercutted, so I could trust that guy. I wanted to see what he needed to be what he wanted to get the trust. And then obviously, signed with the Denver Broncos. I came back and I got more of an opportunity to play offense, and just year by year, you continually improve, and that's kind of how my underdog story came. And I've always learned through just working hard, and really, you got to be. It's crazy though. You almost have to be, if you really want something so bad, and you like as bad as you want to breathe, you almost can't be balanced. You cannot be balanced. So like, there's so many things you have to sacrifice, like friendships, like off seasons, like schedule, like going out, having fun. Like for a long time in my career, I was obsessed with trying to just get on the field and do what I could possibly do. And that's kind of how my mentality has always been.
I heard 4 things that are common. I'd love to translate for those because most people are business owners. How many own your own business in this room? So you can your hand through as well. Pretty extraordinary. So these are people who are taking risks, they're on their own, making it happen. And many of them are underdogs, right? Start their businesses, nothing. Pat Riley told me something one time years ago. I asked him, I said, he was telling me how he was recruiting LeBron. And LeBron was back and forth, and he opened his hand like this. He said, why should I do it? He closed his hand, and what he put in was 6 world championship rings. He opened it up, and he says, you have none of those, so do whatever you want. So I said, what created those 6 rings? And you know what he told me? He said, my father. He said, I was never that great an athlete, even in the NBA, but I got there, I maximized my talent, because one day I was not maximizing my talent as a kid. I came home and I was just sitting around, and my father came home, his father was intense, and he grabbed him by the throat, beat him against the garage door, and said, if this is how you think you're gonna play, you're never gonna amount to anything. He said, right now, while you're sitting, your competition is practicing. One day they will meet you and defeat you. And then he dropped him on the ground. And he said it produced in him a hunger that it didn't matter whether he had the skill or not. He was gonna outwork, outdrive, be the best. And to this day, the way Pat, he's no longer a coach, obviously, but he always had teams that were the hardest working, the toughest, the meanest on earth. And he made them practice a little nobody practice, so the game felt like relaxing by contrast. Second thing I heard from you is, besides that hunger, is modeling. Both of you found the best. Instead of being pissed here on the sidelines, studied your ass off to find those little pieces that give you those 2 millimeters that looks like nothing, but you take it out a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, it's a different destiny. Both of them. And then the third part is you're not in proximity with the best, right? In proximity is power. You put yourself in the position to constantly be in proximity, and then just like a business, this was his customer. He realized this was his client, and he's going to find every way to meet his needs so he would be indispensable. And he's not all the above. Does that fair representation of what you both have?
Absolutely.
How important is hunger, and how do you not lose? And I know for me, because I don't lose it, but so many people, they win one championship, and then they lose their edge. You've seen it in so many sports teams over the years. I get called in for a lot of those teams.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about this privately before, but tell me, how do you keep that edge? How come the hunger doesn't give up when you've got more Super Bowl rings than any quarterback in the history of the world?
I think for me, it's perspective. So everything I just talked about, I remember that. That wasn't a part of everyone else's story. That was my story. So everyone else thought, oh, you just went to Michigan and got picked by the Patriots, and next thing you know, you won. But they don't know what the journey was. So they don't know what is inside of you. And what's inside of me is I'm very internally motivated. It doesn't take much externally to motivate me. I'm not motivated by a lot of things that you guys might think might motivate you. And that, everyone finds different forms of motivation. I'm very happy with the ways that I found it. I left practice today. This is my 18th year, going to my 18th year, my 18th off season. And we wrapped up our mini camp. And so we're on the field for 2.5 hours, and I walked off the field and I thought, I am the worst quarterback in the NFL. How could I possibly have made those throws? I mean, that was so dumb to do that. And I think there's you know, when I walk off the field and I think, man, if it's not perfect for me, you know, I lose sleep. I do an interception today. I feel like I let the whole team down. I let all my teammates down. I let all the people who are investing in us and our team and our fans and our coaches, everyone who's sacrificing the hours on the weekend to watch, or the coaches that are sacrificing time with their family, or the players that are sacrificing all the things that, you know, are pretty robust at this point in their life. They're sacrificing and I let them down. And I can't do that. And I think that's what motivates me. I want to be the best I can be for him every day. I want to be the best I can be for my family every day. So that's what my motivation is. I don't think that will ever change.
And when that is your standard, and I found this with every great achiever I know, it isn't about them. Certainly you benefit in your own experience of being your best, but every great leader I've ever met in my life is driven to serve something greater than themselves. It's like, life supports more life. If you're trying to support yourself, you'll get a certain insight. If you're trying to support your family, you get a different level of insight because it supports more lives.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to support a community or a country or a team, all of a sudden it expands. And every person I know has done that, and every business I've ever met, where they're in it just to make money, fails.
Yeah.
You have to make money, you can't keep the business. But in the beginning, it's like having a child. There's not a lot of reward other than the smile. There's a lot of shit. But eventually, it's this incredible gift of what you have, but it has to be something that you're looking to serve more than yourself. Tell me, it's 28-3. There's 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Everybody else in the world has given up. Many people turn off the television. Tell me what you're thinking, and what made it possible for them to come back. And then I'm going to come to you, and it's 20-28, and there's a ball thrown, and it's got 3 people surrounding you, and it hits somebody's leg, and somehow you catch that ball.
We got down 21-3 at halftime, and it looked, you know, bleak, to say the least. And I thought, as I saw, you know, right before I came out, I thought, man, this is exactly where we did not want to be, like against this team, because they had a lot of those games, and they had blown a lot of these teams out. At the end of the game, it was 48-3 or 48-10, and they had just run away with it. And we all looked, you know, we were in the locker room, and there was no panic. There were guys, and we said, look, we've done a lot of things that have worked. You know, we just haven't scored points, and we've made a lot of mistakes. We can't do it anymore. We're at the point where we have no more margin of error. And we went out there in the third quarter, and we gave up another touchdown. And so the margin of error was razor thin. And it, you know, going back and watching the game, you know, 3 days after the game, there were so many plays that you were like, oh my God, if we didn't make that play, we don't win. And I think it was just ultimately having the belief in what our process was. We had a belief in what our plan was, but just for the first 2.5 quarters of the game, we didn't execute it. You know, we had a good plan, we had a great plan. We just didn't do a good job of doing what we said we were going to do. And it took a lot of really great plays, a lot of incredible moments that ended up turning the tide, and it's going to be the reason why we get our Super Bowl rings tomorrow night. So.
Oh, that's awesome. How do when people come to the Patriots, they learn the Patriot philosophy and core belief, which is we always win, right? And does that? We always improve. Oh, tell me what kept your sense of certainty? We just talked about this earlier, right? Yeah. The person loses certainty, no matter what their skill is, they don't execute. How did you keep your certainty up at those times? And I'll hear from you about that moment as well, because that moment was obviously one of the most critical moments of the game.
Yeah. It's the catch.
Yes. And tell me first, what kept you certain that you could win? Were you still certain, or what kept you going?
We went into.
I think we got a problem with microphone.
We got a mic check. You know, we went up in.
Hand mic.
And Mike. So we go into halftime, and I just kept on saying it was going to be a hell of a story. You know, the whole time. And
that's awesome.
Sometimes when you're cutting down, you know, and I can get negative on myself because that's as a form of competitor, you know, sometimes you're nitty-picky about perfection, this, that, but when you're really cut down all the way down to where we were, you know, that's when you got to start bringing it positive. And like Tom said, we had a plan, but we just didn't do it. We knew what we had to do. And I kept on thinking to myself, I was like doing math and stuff, sitting in my locker, like, well, if we go here, we have this, that. You know, they scored 21 points in the first half. Why can't we score 21 points right now and hold them to nothing? You know, like, so I was just thinking like that, and then I kept on thinking about my game plan. And, you know, anytime I get nervous or you feel some nerves, I always just lean back on the fundamentals of what got me there. And what gets me there is working hard. So I go over what makes me feel well is when I feel prepared. And when I'm prepared, I'm going over all my plays, I'm going all over their tendencies, what they did, all our play sheets and all that kind of stuff. So I was just going through my routine and I was just yelling out in the locker room, guys, it's gonna be a hell of a story. It's gonna be a hell of a story.
That's awesome.
You know,
It's awesome. You can't even tell the future. You have to have that. You gotta see the result, know the results there.
yeah. You know, going into halftime saying that, and the first, you know, third down, we drop, and we freaking had to punt it, and then they go down and score, and I'm sitting there like, hey, it's gonna be even better. So,
You know what?
It was 31 unanswered points.
That's great. Sometimes you think when you're down that much, and I didn't really think it in this game, but I've always thought, you know, in sports, when you're losing, what's the worst that could happen? You're already losing. Like, it can't get any worse than that. That's why you play to win and you're losing. So if you do win, think about what they're going to say about you the next day.
Yeah, that's
and I think
awesome.
that's what it's all about. I was not thinking that in the Super Bowl, though.
Tell us about the moment of that catch. What can you tell us about that moment?
yeah, you know, there's a bunch of great plays, Hopes, Danny, they were setting us up, and whenever you go into like a 2-minute drive, you need a chunk play,
Yeah.
which is a 20-yard gain, which statistically, if you get a chunk play, you're gonna have a better, you know, chance of winning, which is like crazy, yeah, because that you break everything else stats up. But so on that play, I saw the coverage, and Tom hit me a couple of times in practice on that, so I knew he was gonna come to me. Just because it was, you know, cover 5, we needed something. I knew that he wasn't going to go to the bow. He had inside leverage over there. I knew the safety was kind of high. He was kind of eyeing me down. So I went in and I tried to sell the route. I didn't sell the route very well. And Alfred goes back and he tips it. And I just so happened to be able to get my feet in the ground and like catapult myself. And I was going in because there was 2 other dudes closest. And I was like, oh man. Let's just not get this thing hit. So then it hits a foot.
I was saying the same thing too. You go, yes, 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 yes. Oh, no.
I'm sitting here, and my eyes are like, I mean, goes back to like you're a cornered animal. Like you have no other choice but to do everything you possibly can for the fate of that's what Bill says. Ball security is like when you're carrying the ball, you're carrying the fate of every single person and their families in this organization. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh snap, this thing's coming. I dive, it hits a leg, an arm, and I just tried to keep my eye on the ball, and I was able to do that, and I double clutched it. And I go, let's get up Peter. I knew I caught it, but I wanted him to challenge it, potentially to get a timeout out. So I was like,
Oh, very cool.
you know.
That's good. What were you thinking in this moment?
Wow. Well, when I let it go, and then I saw the DB start to turn and get his eyes on the ball, it's like your biggest fear as a quarterback. And he did it, and then I saw it do it, and I actually had a pretty good glimpse of it. And the refs ran in pretty quick, and they were like, he got it. And then I just took one look at those screens up in the stadium, and I said, he caught that thing. I don't know how he did it, but it was the biggest play, you know, in the game. There was a lot of big plays, but we couldn't have won without that play. So.